What's up, guys? So I finally got my expedition back from Sandcraft. They took quite a while to get a bunch of stuff done. I did the transmission rebuild. I did the front diff. It was initially down there just for the steering rack because they didn't engineer one for the long travel setups. So, of course, I offered to donate my rig to get the first set for long travel. And it definitely took a little bit longer. So I said, why don't you guys do the transmission, the front diff rebuild, and then that way everything's done. You know what I mean? When you tear this stuff down, Polaris Polaris does, I mean, they build a good product. They do. But when you look into stuff like the bearings and seals, it's pretty cheap. You know, it's kind of weird the way that it works because they're so expensive. And yet, when you tear into the transmission and the differential and you start looking at some of the components, it's like, you think for 50 grand or 45 grand, whatever it is, they would use high end, good quality parts for bearings and seals. Um, that wasn't the case. When we took everything apart, there is a massive difference between OEM internally and what Sandcraft has done. I'm not a rep for Sandcraft, they're not paying me. I had to pay just like everybody else. They do give us a code, so I get a discount, of course. Um, but I was surprised on the quality difference. It was significant. So, we're going to talk about a few things today, primarily the steering rack. What did they do? What kind of components? And then my overall impression of it cuz I did take it for a nice ride today. I mean, long story short, if you don't want to watch the whole video, yeah, it's worth every penny. Holy cow, it tightened up the steering, it made it smoother. It is a game changer for sure. And it's not even a steering, it's a steering rack stabilizer, not a replacement. So I'm going to talk about some of the mechanics, and then I hope the light shows up on the camera well. I don't know. We're going to find out. I always take these videos, put them on my computer, preview them. If I don't like them, I'll delete it and then I'll redo it. This is about the best lighting I got. So we'll see how it goes. So the problem was with Sandcraft was they designed these for non-long travel units. And from what I hear, for the most part, everybody's happy. There was a couple complaints. People say that at a standstill, they still couldn't turn very easily. Now, that was my impression as well, but I did notice it kind of loosened up over time, and that is what they told me that as the more you drive it, the more it'll kind of break in. All these little the bushings on, I'm not going to be able to get it on the camera, but the bushings that are way up in there that this tie rod goes to, they need to break in. Once they break in, everything starts to free up a little bit more, not loose, but it just moves easier. So I did notice that as I was going through the desert and I was making some turns, it just, there was no kickback through the steering wheel. So what I mean is, as the wheel was hitting rocks and stuff, and you normally kind of get that jarring feeling, I wasn't feeling that anymore. It just was just rolling through the rocks and the ruts, and I got a lot less feedback from the wheel, the tire, whatever, to the steering wheel. So that's why I'm definitely digging it. So I'm surprised, not disappointed. I am surprised that they used OEM tie rod ends. Thought that was interesting. I thought for sure they would use some kind of a hind joint or something. They didn't. What they did do was they used the hind joint on the inside where the steering rack actually is. And then the tie rod itself, they obviously just had to make them longer. In fact, um, let's see. I think this is it right here. Yes. So this is what came with the kit. This is Sandcraft's tie rod, and the way it works is that this piece here goes up into the steering rack stabilizer, and then you screw in the tie rod to here and you adjust it. Well, as you can tell, it's short. So you got to have an Expedition with the long travel set. I have JRI. JRI is great stuff. They're the bomb. If you guys need a long travel kit, mid travel, that's definitely my go to for sure. I'm a big fan of JRI and all that. So they're gonna powder coat all these. Mine, I told them not to. I said polish it up. I really like this polished look. I don't know how long it's gonna stay like that. I think it looks really cool. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of move the camera around and show you inside what's going on and what Sandcraft has done. And then, but again, if you're just interested in my opinion and my perspective on running a turbo machine with 35s doing 60 miles an hour through the desert, yes, it makes a big difference. Long story short, I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. So I'll get the meat and potatoes out of the way, and then for you nerds that like the technical stuff, hang tight because it's we're gonna talk about the engineering behind what Sandcraft did, and then I did an interview with those guys yesterday, and I'm gonna post that video. It's all gonna be in the same video, so this will be first my interview with the tech, and then my interview with sales. So we're gonna go me, the technician that installed it, and then the salesman going over pricing and how much the steering rack is, and including the entire kit. If you want to do the trans, the diff, the driveline, the limit straps, then you could do that. The limit straps I couldn't get them to fit either. I don't know what they did. The offsets are definitely different than what they sent me the first time. I couldn't get anything to clear, so they finally got the limit straps on there. So I'm gonna change this battery, reset the camera, and then let's get that camera up in that steering rack and kind of show you the technical stuff. Okay, so what we're looking at now is the actual steering rack stabilizer bolted up to the machine. So the way this works is that right here is the steering rack stabilizer. So you're still using your OEM steering rack. The only thing that this does, I shouldn't say it like as the only thing, it simplifies as what it actually does or is. But what it does is it kind of prevents it from moving, I guess. Prevents it from giving you too much play, particularly bump steer, into the steering rack itself. Because now, instead of the steering rack going straight to the tie rod, and then the tie rod going all the way to the end of the knuckle, well, now you got this piece here, the stabilizer, that is hooked in to the tie rod. And this is how it is stabilized and gives you the dampening. All the dampening goes from here to there. So this makes it go in and out. This dampens and controls the feedback in your steering wheel going from the tie rod into the rack. So it's kind of like this. It goes from there to here, back to there. Or however you want to look at it, back and forth. On an engineering perspective, I just don't know exactly the technical aspects of how all this works, but mechanically, this dampens and softens the feedback into the steering wheel by bolting it here, and of course the other two on the other side, and then controlling how much force is inputted into the steering rack itself. So they do have grease certs. John over at Sandcraft says that you can have them if you want to grease them. Cool. If you don't, then don't worry about it. He didn't seem like it. A lot of people, you see, a lot of people are worried about not being able to maintenance it, so they drilled, tapped it, put a Zerk in there. I probably won't ever. I won't ever mess with it because he told me that I didn't need to. So if he's wrong, and after a couple thousand miles, I got a wore out steering rack stabilizer, I'm gonna let him know. Then I'll let you guys know. So I don't know how much of a wear and tear item it is, but from what I can tell, it does need to be rebuilt from time to time, depending on the application. So this is Sandcraft steering rack stabilizer in all of its glory, and yeah, I'll let you guys know long term. But initial thoughts is it's pretty slick. So I hope you guys have a great day. God bless, and go get them. Hey guys, Chuck with X Mods here. So today I'm with Jordan at Sandcraft down in Phoenix, Arizona. Jordan's the one that did all the work or a lot of the work to the expedition. We're going to go into some technical details about, number one, what did he do? And then we're also going to kind of talk about, Jordan, who's this for? You know what I mean? Because is this for everybody? Is this for the people that just want to race? So let's start with the transmission. Okay. So when you tore apart my transmission, it had about 4,000 miles. So what could you tell me about, after 4,000 miles, what kind of wear could you see inside of my transmission per se?
So amongst the very common things of some bearings that have been overheated because of improper fit on the shafts, there is some things where on yours, you were running high-grade oil, so the gears, like the mesh and the actual wear patterns look fine, definitely usable. But it's mostly you beat the catastrophic failure to the punch because it's built into every unit.
Is it?
It is.
Okay. So if you plan on, so this is going to be for the guy or gal that's going to keep your expedition. Now, how is your parts different than OEM?
So first off, all of our parts are proprietary to their location, I guess, if you will, their fitment, if you will. Because say, yes, it is a 6203 bearing, which it might fit a John Deere implement, it might fit a skateboard in Taiwan, but it also fits your transmission. We actually work with the manufacturer of the bearings, telling them that it's this speed, this kind of oil bath, this kind of load. And they actually engineered a very specific bearing for our differentials and transmissions. So it starts with that, knowing what it's doing, not just saying, oh, it's an allowable RPM and workload.
Got it.
So they they don't even tell us, like, their secret recipe, right?
Sure.
Because we were interested in cryogenics at one point in time, and they're like, don't touch it. Nope, we already did it. Everything's taken care of for you.
Interesting.
So you can tell by physically looking at the bearing that our races are larger so that they fit the cases better, because the shafts, between, say, the transmission, yours has 7 different shafts with helical cut gears at an angle. So anytime you're on and off the throttle, the shafts are essentially going back and forth.
Got it.
So those bearings are just beating on the case, and they'll nest in and actually make themselves more room. So over time, between everything where in the CV axles to loose U-joints or connections anywhere between the throttle pedal and the wheel, on and off the throttle, you can start to feel a little bit of slug or clunk or bang or whatever.
Got it.
So our bearing races fill the case. We have proprietary shims that we also put in the case to make sure. And it doesn't sound like much, but say if we can squeeze in 4 different shims at 10,000ths each, that's actually big in the transmission world, because yeah, it sounds like 40 thousandths. That's not really much, but it is in the transmission world. So you don't
especially
feel
when
that.
You start to add power, whether it's a tune, exhaust, a turbo, and all that.
So it's a lot more smooth between on and off the throttle as well.
Really? Okay.
We do like the snap ring deletes for the high gear support bushing, to where, again, going back to that helical cut angle, it wants to force high gear off of the shaft, and it's just relying on a 1 3/16 snap ring, to where we put in a thick metal bushing to where it transfers the load directly to the bearing race. So there's no room for failure.
So in the real world, the people at home, when they think about rebuilding their transmissions prior to a catastrophic failure, which you say is a ticking time bomb, it's just a matter of time. It's not a matter of if, but when, depending on, especially if they're starting to throw on big tires, which causes a load on the transmission, a turbo, which causes additional wear and tear, or anything else that's going to push it beyond its OEM. Now, what about the guy or gal that just has an OEM? 30-inch tires, they trail ride it. Is this really for them, or should they just keep on the maintenance?
It's so, the average guy and gal that uses it to mosey around the yard, it's not,
Okay.
their unit will probably last quite a while.
This is for the people that are putting additional load above and beyond OEM, such as tires, accessories. It doesn't take a lot to add 1,000 pounds to these units.
Right.
Suspension seats, roof rack, chase rack. I know for a fact my rock sliders weigh a couple hundred pounds. So when you add all that rotating mass, I would assume puts additional wear and tear on the transmission.
Directly.
And so this will help. So what could I expect with proper maintenance now compared to OEM as far as lifespan, do you think?
So you have to remember that anything that is mass produced has its allowable failure rate.
Sure.
And some manufacturers have a larger allowable. So it's in the best of everybody's interest, whether you are high performance, overloading the vehicle, upfitting the vehicle, adding power, anything like that. It's in the best of your interest because it'll never happen in the driveway. It's always when you're out there. Yeah. And that could really put a...
Do you guys have a warranty on your transmission builds?
We do. Lifetime on our parts and labor.
Lifetime. So that's pretty solid, guys. Polaris gives you 6 months. If you send it to Sandcraft and have them do the work, they will give you a lifetime warranty on their parts and their labor for the work that needs to be done. They're not going to take it out and do all that kind of stuff, but they'll take care of the work that you put your hands on. And so that's very cool. What else did you do to the X-Mods rig? Did you do the steering rack too?
I did the steering rack stabilizer.
Did the steering rack. So we're going to dig into that a little bit. So when Sandcraft did the initial steering rack, they did it for the OEM, so not a long travel. And when I got my steering rack, we didn't really think about that we needed longer tie rods. And because of the way that they did their steering rack design, it just didn't reach. So what did you guys do to make it fit the long travel kit? And will it work on other long travel kits? So I have a JRI. Do you know if it'll fit HCR or Super ATV or?
Currently we're making it for the +6 kit, but we are also going to make a +8 kit.
Got it.
And it is very important that people order it with the correct kit.
Okay, so when you guys order your stabilizers, make sure. So I could only tell you what I feel. Tell me on a technical aspect, how does this steering stabilizer help the driver with steering bump, feel on their steering wheel, whether it's going through the dunes, the mud? Is this for mud people? We got a lot of people from Tennessee that followed the page. How does this correlate on a technical level that I don't understand, or anybody does for that matter? Sure. How does it correlate to the steering wheel? What does it do?
So first off, I would like to clarify that it is a steering rack stabilizer, not necessarily a steering stabilizer.
Got it.
So that when it's installed correctly, you actually don't even know it's there outside of the fact that we correct some of the steering geometry when it comes to bump.
Okay.
And so what we do is we had fixed, a second lateral 1-inch rod to run parallel with your serrated steering rack, because say if you're getting after it, you're having a good time and a lot of action, enough feedback, if it doesn't bend the tie rod, it's going to go straight into the serrated rack section and collapse the steering rack. And now you're stuck just doing circles if it doesn't entirely snap the rack in half.
So this will make your steering gear
more like an Abrams tank.
Nice. So it's going to make it last much longer.
Exactly. And you can put it on an old worn rack. You don't have to buy a new rack. We can't guarantee that it fits aftermarket racks if people try and But ultimately, because we replaced the inner tie rod ends with our ear design to run the
Yep.
parallel bars, is that we can actually have control on where we meet the inner tie rod ends. And we use that in correlation to where the control arms and knuckle are. And that's how we correct some of the bump steer as well. A lot of vehicle applications, we correct it completely. In yours, we got it down to very minimal, very minimal.
Now, I did have one of our members, they were a little, they got the steering rack and they noticed that it was very difficult to steer at low speeds, significantly better at high speeds. Is that something that will break in over time to maybe lighten up the steering wheel? Because he just said he says, I put it on and it was actually made it harder to steer at slower speeds.
Sure.
I would assume there's some kind of a break-in. Maybe it loosens up over time.
So that's exactly it. At first, it starts at correct installment because there is alignment issues. You have to make sure that it is installed. Secondly, it could have been a bent rack that he was adding it to.
That's possible.
So,
sure.
Thirdly, yes, there is Delrin bushings inside. For the most part, we have the grease zerks because if we didn't, people would be like, "Hey, where's the grease zerks?" You know, grease it if you want.
So much
but
easier to
the
do
Delrin
that.
material that we use, we have wiper seals to keep the Delrin clean, but the Delrin is actually a self-lubricating material, and so yes, the Delrin will eventually polish the bar that runs through back and forth, and it will be effortless. So again,
So initially, you're going to have a little bit more resistance than you would after 500 miles.
yes,
Got it. Got
Yes.
it. So if you get the steering rack, I had a few people tell me that they got the steering rack and it was stiff from a dead stop or slow speeds, and so they wanted me to bring that up.
Yep.
So just give it time, guys. 200-300 miles, whatever. Allow it to kind of break in. As far as the transmission goes, it sounds like the engagement and disengagement is probably going to be a little bit smoother.
Absolutely.
So as you're driving, but whether it's rock crawling or desert and all that, you're going to get a more positive feel engaging and disengaging. I'll of course give you guys real world feedback as soon as I can. What's the biggest benefit of going to your Driveline now compared to OEM?
Largest benefit, let's say, longer service life out of your U-joints.
Got it. Because you can actually shoot grease in them,
You
where
can.
OEM you can't.
They are a larger material, a larger bearing cup
Got it.
all around, and they are serviceable as well.
So, and the carrier bearing is serviceable as well, right?
Yes, it is.
So you can service the carrier bearing, and that wobble, if you ever put your, just about any side-by-side with an OEM Driveline, if you put it up on the rack and spin it at 8,000 RPMs, you're gonna watch that sucker go back and forth. And he just touched, this is an OEM that's got a ton of play, and then of course, that one does not. So, the vibrations that you get, especially at the slower speeds, in my opinion, I felt the difference more at a slower speed than I did at a higher speed. Some people have told me they felt the difference at a higher speed. So, in either way, this is a phased and balanced drive shaft, which means, I'm gonna go, I'll let you.
Right in the middle. So the phasing. The phasing is the way that the U-joints are aligned at the ends of the shafts and or slip yoke connection. And from what we've seen from the manufacturer of the drive shaft is that it's engineered to be somewhat of a PTO shaft, not necessarily a performance unit. So you might get a shaft where the shoulders are kind of aligned, you might get them completely 90 degrees out, you might get them close. And so that's what you're definitely going to feel at the low speed because it's actually pushing and pulling when they are misaligned.
Sure. So a phase imbalance fixes that.
Phase helps with the low speed. The high speed is where the balance comes in because
Got it.
with these ratios in these cars, at 40 miles an hour, that drive shaft is spinning 2,000 RPMs.
Got it.
And that is fast.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
really, really fast.
Don't try
and
to
we all
grab
know
it.
we go faster than 40 miles an hour.
Sure.
And so the high speed balance, and I mean, we ramp it up on the balancer to about 80 miles an hour. When we balance
Really?
it. Yeah.
Cool. And then we got the front diff. So they have a proprietary part. We're going to call it a Sprag, is that how you
Sprag.
Sprag, okay. And basically what it does is between OEM and the Sandcraft, what is the major benefit from somebody having their front diff rebuilt with your heavy duty Sprag and other parts that go into the front diff rebuild? And in case you guys don't know, the front diff is what makes it four-wheel drive. Some people don't know that. So I'm not trying to talk down to the audience, but some people have no idea. They just got into the UTV market because of the Expedition, and they don't understand what a front diff even does. So when you hit the four-wheel drive button, this thing kicks in. Back to the Sprag?
Sprag.
Sprag.
So again, with mass production,
Okay.
there is corners to be cut, and they figured that out over the years. They started with a Chinese billet, something that we don't even actually know what it is.
Sure.
And that worked in 2014. Then in 2015, they tried a plastic Sprag to cut corners even better, and then that instantly backfired and blew up in their face, literally. And in 16, they were like, all right, we'll make it out of aluminum, but we'll make it smaller. And then that didn't work out as well because that's when the turbos were introduced. You know, they ramped up the power and found out that smaller is not better.
Yeah.
And then in 17, they were like, fine, okay, fine. And then they started putting a couple of bucks into it, and they were making a decent unit, you know, that relatively long lasting. They made one mod in 2018 to the armature plate. And then in 22, they went back to one of the most creative ideas ever of making it out of some cheaper Chinesium and pinned together.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you can imagine.
That's like a cast, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
They're like, we only have to make 2 parts and we'll just
Just
stab that baby together.
So OEM is cast. What is yours?
Ours is actually 2 different options for the type of driver that you are.
Okay.
Right? We have an OEM replacement billet aluminum Sprag that is made out of T6, the best like aircraft quality aluminum that we can get our hands on.
Mm-hmm.
And we replace the armature plate with 4130 steel, I believe it is.
Okay.
And
So a harder steel, basically.
a very harder and more mass that plays on,
Harder and thicker.
yes, but
Got
to
it.
a degree that is very calibrated, because any thicker and it wouldn't function correctly. Any
So-
thinner,
So definitely a
And
more
it wouldn't-
precision built part
yes,
that's harder and
yes.
thicker
And
precisely.
and that is why there's a marriage process with our components when you build our front differentials.
And the other option?
And so then, right, so that's the T6 option. And then we can go out all the way to the extreme guys that we can actually also make a hardened steel Sprag as well with a hat design that is virtually indestructible, that we refer
Which one
to
did I get?
as bomb proof. You have this kit in your vehicle,
Nice. Because I'll be bombing it, that's for sure.
right?
Yep.
Um,
So,
Beyond that, we replaced one of the plastic components with another T6 torsion spring retainer. This guy is responsible for keeping the differential in neutral, because nobody
okay.
wants that surprise all-wheel drive when you didn't ask for it.
no, and I will tell you this, there's times that it wouldn't disengage. And if you know that the when it's in four-wheel drive, it's very heavy steering because now everything's connected.
Sure.
And I'm like, man, I can't get this thing to release at all. So I don't know, does that help at all with the
It absolutely
disengagement?
does.
Okay,
And that's,
cool.
that's one of the issues, is that the plastic will get the notches sliced into it to where it will not release the all-wheel drive Sprag.
Yeah.
And that's why the
And see, I've had that happen a lot where the four-wheel drive is still engaged, even though I told it not to, and I've had to work the switch a few times. So, you know, it's one of those things where that's probably one of the best news that I've heard about this whole thing, because it's so annoying. You know what I mean? So we talked. I think transmission. So they also will completely. Where to go with the transmission? I don't think
Yes,
we
sir.
did. We did. Okay. And you're not re-gearing as of yet, correct? Like doing like a 15% gear reduction or anything like that?
currently, no, there is
Yeah.
not an option that I know of, is why.
I know there's a couple people out there that are doing the gear reduction. I know that we were initially talking about having you guys do it, but it's just not out there yet. There is, like I said, I don't know anything about the other guys, so
You can go 100th of a rotation under by putting Pro XP gears in it.
oh,
I mean, and those shafts are spinning fast.
Sure they
so
are.
1/100th actually is
It's
a reduction.
It's
just
it's
not as significant.
it's a reduction. So if you plan on keeping your Expedition for years, and you just want to get the cart before the horse, just get the whole kit, especially the steering rack, because the steering rack stabilizer is going to give you a significant real world feel right off the bat. And then the Driveline, I noticed a small difference. I didn't notice a huge difference when I swapped out Drivelines. I didn't have any problems either. I did it just because. Plus, I did it when the unit was brand spanking new. So for me, I didn't really notice a difference, other than I've got the same Driveline on this and my Razor, my Pro R. I've done it on everything just because I've seen the factory ones bend over time, and I just kind of get it. I like to bulletproof my rigs early on. In fact, this is the first time that I've done it with thousands of miles on there. I'm glad I did, because they were able to show me pictures of the worn pieces after 4,000 miles, and then what they're putting in now. The wear was pretty significant from the pictures that I saw, especially in the transmission. The transmission seemed to be the worst. Obviously, I don't know about the diff. How did the diff wear? Do you remember? Or no, you didn't rebuild the diff.
Right.
That was another guy. Got it.
But being as how there wasn't much news about it means that going with the bomb-proof kit corrected any issues that you were probably about to experience.
Probably.
You know, and you have to remember that, I mean, the company isn't all about sales, right? You can tell by our presence out there on the trails and in the sand and everything like that. It's that we like to do it ourselves. And we like to do it in the garage, you know, and we like to have cars that do not fail us. You know, part of our job is we'll take OE cars and we'll go out there and try to break them. You know, that's the fun part.
And then make it better.
And then we make it better. You know, it's we're not just behind a computer desk designing parts for fun. We really don't like to break down.
So it's part of just the reliability. They're not just, long story short, they're not trying to just sell something. They're not selling snake oil with the false promise that, you know, it's going to make your rig last a lot longer. It's real world, and if you guys ever want to see like a side-by-side comparison, give Sandcraft a call, and they'll show you side-by-side if you need to be sold on upgrading your Expedition or any side-by-side. I know other people that only have side-by-sides follow the page for this kind of technical aspect, because they're like, obviously this is for a Can-Am, a Pro R, just obviously different build, and so it's not just for the Expedition. But since the Expedition is so much heavier, I have noticed that stuff wears out faster, because your Pro R weighs around 1,800 pounds, give or take, where the Expedition weighs upwards of 4,000 pounds. So when you have a heavier car, but the same component, well, they're going to wear out faster. And this is one of the reasons I'm trying to get the cart before the horse.
Absolutely. And again, you know, it doesn't happen in the driveway. It waits until you're out there.
It always does, huh? Hey, I appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate all the hard work, appreciate all the guys doing it. They did a ton of work, and I forgot, last thing, you are doing limit straps as well for the Expedition. Who's that marketed to?
Everybody that has suspension on their car.
Got it. Just because, especially, so if you're a duner, if you're a rock crawler, or you just want to prevent that from overextending and pulling the shock itself out.
Correct.
Got it.
And it's people are like, oh no, I never jumped my car. Well, where are you driving? A lot of up and down sand highway. Well, that just means you jumped your car 90 times in the last 50 seconds.
Because it just prevents. Now, what about the rock crawler people that say it reduces articulation?
So that one, it's the same concept completely, just a different, right? So like in the high speed going over sand whoops or jumping, that shock is extending really fast. And again, you're trying not to separate the internal holding mechanism that's going to let one shock turn into three pieces.
Sure.
So rock crawling, yeah, it's not happening as fast, but now you have a 50-pound, 60, 80-pound wheel assembly on the outside.
Hanging in the air.
Ripping on that shock.
Especially if you're rock bouncing at all. Then you're taking a static load to a dynamic load. And dynamic is really what breaks these things. Is static, floating, nice and easy, not too bad. Once you start to lose traction and you goose it and you kind of bounce it off the boulders, Then you have a dynamic load, and that's where you can do some serious damage to shocks internally that you may not even know about. So I appreciate everybody that's joined the page. I hope everybody has a great day. God bless, and go get them. All right, we're back. This is John Sandcraft on Xmods. So when I've been tagging John Sandcraft, this is the guy.
What's going on, guys?
So I appreciate you being part of the group and
absolutely.
and communicating with all the different members. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
So we got through the technical aspect. Now we're going to talk about the money. How much does all this stuff cost? So let's start with the steering rack. What are we talking retail versus Xmods price on the steering rack stabilizer?
So steering rack stabilizer, we start out, it's $1,299. And then we give you guys 15% off of just about anything that you guys buy.
Got it. 15% off. And then let's go to the front diff rebuild. So they take it out, they ship it to you, and then on their dime, and then the fee includes the shipping to get it back to them.
Yep.
How much are we talking for that?
Retail on that, so if you did like we did for yours, the bomb proof, which is what we always recommend, that's that hardened steel sprag that you guys were talking about earlier with Jordan. That price is $1,185.
Got it. We're going to move on to the Driveline. What are we talking about there?
So for the Driveline, all of our Drivelines, it doesn't matter whether it's 2-seat or 4-seat or 5-seat, I guess, for the Expeditions.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be $1,680.
Got it. And then the transmission.
The transmission, we're looking at $1,560, and that includes the shipping back, the high gear bushing support, the shift ball, and then our 4-bolt heavy-duty bearing retainer as well.
And then if they send everything in and they want to do the whole entire package, what's the total cost?
So if they were to send it all in with the Xmods price, you'd be saving yourself just about $900, and it'd come out to be a total of $5,086.40.
So $5,000, you could kind of bulletproof your entire rig. The only thing left over would be the engine. You guys haven't ever done engines, have you?
No, not really.
Just too much to go on there.
Yeah, just our own stuff. So
yeah, I would imagine. So if you spend $5,000, you save almost $1,000 if you do the entire package. So you buy it all, you get the steering rack for free, or however you want to sell it to yourself. It's if you plan on keeping the rig, this is the way to go. As far as the warranty goes on everything, is everything a lifetime warranty?
Yeah, everything's lifetime warranty. Other than the Driveline, we don't warranty the carrier bearing, but we warranty the housing, right? Because bearings aren't meant to last forever.
Got it.
We do make a replacement bearing, so you don't have to buy the entire kit again. That's just $45.
Oh, okay.
The U-joints are not lifetime warranty, also a
It's a
wearable
wear and
item.
tear.
We also make those, so we sell those. They're also $45. For the steering rack, the only thing that's not lifetime warranty on that are the bushings and the seals.
Okay.
We do sell a kit for that. They're about $30 for the whole kit.
Got it.
The front differential and transmission, same thing, just bearings and seals aren't going to be covered, but your labor is lifetime warranty. Your sprag is going to be lifetime warranty. Your armature plate or cage plate, your torsion spring retainer, the high gear bushing support, the 4-bolt retainer, and the
You
shift
ain't
ball
wearing that out.
are all lifetime warranty. Yeah.
Nice. So even if we got 200 horsepower, you're going to take care of it.
Yeah, it'll
you're
still
going to
go.
take care of it. Well, I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys being part of the group.
No.
$5,000, you can get it all, and then you don't have to worry about the mechanics other than the engine. I've had every single person across the country talk to me about each one of these issues. So this stuff, it's not about when it's going to fail, or if, it's going to be when. This stuff is designed by players. It's not designed to fail, but it is definitely not designed to last you for thousands of miles. No. So if you want to bomb-proof your entire expedition, then make it happen. That way you don't have to worry about it other than your engine. I hope everybody has a great day. God bless, and go get them. Bam.